women in our lives, we are expected to be restrained, to have the ability to, you know, the emotional intelligence to read a room, read other people, and be able to adjust. And we're not given an excuse for our behavior. We're the ones who are expected to police ourselves. And I never made this connection directly where learning how to throw a punch and a kick, or even just any kind of, you know, really like athletic endeavor, right, is less, not less accessible, but I guess in a sense, less accessible. It's not introduced to us like as a you know, a guarantee in our childhood necessarily, and how by doing that, playing sports, doing the combat sports, or doing any kind of athletic endeavor unlocks a part of your personality that you otherwise have kept like locked up. Does that make sense? I mean, you said it. I mean, better than.
I think the way I look at it is like it's like a unlocking of human emotion. So you have a whole spectrum. Yeah. Every human being has a spectrum, obviously, of human emotion. And, you know, you're allowed to feel happy, joyful, you know, and sad. But as women, like, all these other emotions are considered, and men too. I mean, I can go into that too. But it's like, as women, we're not allowed to express aggression or anger. Because obviously there's volatile forms of that, like hurting another person. Okay, sure. Yeah. Or intentionally, at least. In sport, obviously, it's different. My point is that we're expected to suppress these emotions because they're deemed, you know, unsavory as women, unfeminine, not part of our nature, whatever the fuck that means. And as a culture, as a society, in media too, like you still see the little, not even little, I shouldn't even say little, the very blatant, the really blatant ways in which we're encouraged to suppress those things. So that's why, like, when I used to teach and I would see women who were really timid coming in, you know, I really just want to get a great workout. I heard great things about kickboxing, and I just want to try a class with her. So I'm like, great, sounds awesome. They take the class and they literally, they look different after the class, and then when they come back and take a second class, it's because, like, they've unleashed something. I don't know what that something is. Could have been a bad day that they just needed to let out some energy, but it could be so much deeper than that, you know. And I think between being an instructor and now, like, owning Society 9, it's been really cool to be the beholder almost of a lot of these stories, because sometimes customers will even share with us really personal shit, like stuff that I feel very honored that they trust us, and I would never ever share any of these stories, of course. But it's like, wow, like that I didn't necessarily intentionally seek that out to be a part of their stories or to like hear these parts of their journeys, but then like they choose to share it because like now they've defined that connection through what we made, you know. And it still shocks me even like saying that out loud, but you know, I think that's what's really important about this whole experience is like, I don't really care if you wear Society 9 or not. I actually care more that like you find that energy, that
outlet to allow you to experience your full spectrum of human
emotion,
expression and emotion.
Yeah, because like you're allowed that. You are allowed that.
Yeah, that's a key distinction. I think, you know, we exist in a patriarchal society, so when we talk about equality and expressing ourselves, whatever, we tend to favor the more masculine and aggressive emotions, right, and actions and whatnot, right? We favor that, but it's a key distinction that we're talking about the ability of humans to be able to express their full spectrum of feelings, and for men that could mean like the vulnerability, right?
Yeah,
the fear, all that stuff, like that's important too, because repressing that, as we've seen examples, it could create some negative behaviors.
It's very opposite for men, and you know you're seeing a lot of like brave men. I'll say it, brave men who are choosing at the risk of being pushed away or turned away by their male peers, you know, speaking out about how hard it is to share their emotion and how frustrated they are that they can't, or that they're scared. And you know, I'm glad that there's a dialogue being started about it. I hope more men will realize that, like, you have a right too. You have a right to cry. You have a right to feel. It sounds so stupid to even have to say it that way, but you have a right to feel. And again, so long as you're not hurting someone intentionally or being violent, like, you do have a right to feel. So
and it makes room, if you let yourself feel those feelings, it makes room for you to be able to, like, you know, work on whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know, it opens it up a little bit more, other than, because if you package it away, it's always going to sit there.
It's always going to sit there, and you know what? It's never going to allow you to actually process it the right way. And, like, here's Lynn's relationship advice for today. If you don't learn how to embrace those emotions, the full spectrum, and how to communicate them to your partner, then it's only going to not only create more ambiguity, but you're never going to be able to find resolution because you're not actually addressing the emotion, the actual emotion, the true emotion behind whatever it is that's causing, you know, you to behave or say the things that you did or whatever.
Hurt people.
Thank
you. I love that. The call and respond. That is one of my gripes about conversations around equality. You know, feminism, equality. I did air quotes. It's, okay, yeah, anything you can do, I can do as well. Sure. But it's also, it's not about, I feel like it's always about, like, the playing field is, I don't know how else to put it, but, like, the masculine traits. And that equality, the norm, the bar is that we all have to act like men in order to be considered equal. But I feel like on the flip side of things, like, I should be able to embrace my femininity, if I could say it, that would help. And be able to, like, appreciate that I have interests that are you know, associated with women and you know, like, the more, I don't know how else to put it. Like, do you get what I'm trying to say?
Oh, I'm not sure.
It's like, we celebrate being aggressive and being, you know, kind of bold and masculine and playing sports and being, like, lifting heavy and learning how to fight. Like, all of that is very masculine, and that's cool. We look down, you know, it's very easy. Our internalized misogyny makes us look at women who like more feminine things, girly things, as we negatively put it, as, like, not as equal to, like, the other interests.
But who's looking at that as unequal, though?
Society. We look down on, say, Kim Kardashian, for example, because she's into fashion and beauty. And she, you know, emphasizes just her looks. And we see that as something that isn't as worthy as other types of pursuits.
Yeah.
And, you know, we say, when we look at equal rights and we speak to that, it's always within the frame of view as women doing the things that men do. That's equal. Versus, you know, men can enjoy doing things that are associated as feminine. That's equality as well. It's in the other direction as well. So it's like, the distinction is, it's about being able to just be yourself, whatever that is, regardless of femininity or masculinity, because it's all worthy, because it's all human.
Yeah, I mean, I just look at it as different expressions. I mean, I feel like it goes both ways. I feel like on the one hand, there's an audience that's for and against, you know, the Kardashians for litany of reasons. I mean, for the people who are against them, it's literally hurt people. If those same hurt people were, you know, making $150 whatever million a year annually, I forget whatever their net worth is, they would say, sure as hell would not be feeling that way, you know? So, you know, people who vocalize their opinions on that, I mean, that's a reflection. That's self-reflection, in my opinion. I mean, on the flip side, like, you know, individuals, I should say, who tend to lean more towards, I don't even want to call them masculine activities, because we're taking that vernacular away too, like, societally and culturally. I mean, we are entering a world of gender fluidity, and, you know, I've certainly have had a lot of lessons this year. My employee identifies as queer femme, and she's been an incredible educator on that too, of just understanding like spectrum, especially because I myself am a cis hetero woman. The world totally caters to me in terms of language, representation, etc. Different forms of representation, I should say, whether it is a Kim Kardashian or, Allyson Felix, who's an Olympic medalist, for the US track team. Like, I'm the beneficiary of a cis heteronormative world. But, understanding now what it means to embrace that hypersexual, hyper feminine side all the way down to, the tomboy or whatever. I mean, it's a very interesting, I'm still navigating that as well. Owning a business that uses language like, we're celebrating women and all that stuff, but then knowing at the same time that we have transgender women customers and gender neutral customers who don't identify as either, but they identify with us as it relates to their femme side. I mean, there's just so many nuances that, I can't sit here and educate anyone on any of it with any cohesion, because it's evolving at such a crazy rate right now. It's super interesting, but I just, I think the way that the media and culture are still I shouldn't say educating, the way that they're pushing us to reflect on our own femininity is still definitely through a cis hetero male lens.
Yeah.
Including all y'all who like your Nike sneakers and Adidas and whatever. Like, just keep in mind that even if there's a female manager or director, the person who's above her is more likely than not a male VP or, male president. So everything that you're seeing, even in the health and wellness lens, is all being portrayed as to what men ultimately think is beautiful, what men think is strong. Even the whole strong is sexy stuff. I mean, that shit can get real dark too, y'all. Strong is sexy is... That hashtag is sort of the bane of my personal existence and professional, actually. Yeah. It gets real dark because, like, you have to ask yourself, it's like, why I, Lynn, personally feel super strong. Why do I not feel sexy all the time at all sometimes, Like, why is that? And then I even think to myself, like, what is being put on my Instagram feed? What is being put in my Facebook ads? I don't use Facebook anymore for a lot of reasons. That's one of them. But it's like, what is being pushed towards me? And then you think about the imagery. You think about the supporting imagery, like, oh, I didn't even follow this keto diet thing. Why are they spitting me ads now too? Because they probably see that I am into working out. It's really fucked up. It's all super fucked up. And so I just really hope that people learn and find the things that make them excited to just live. That sounds real dark, but like...
Well, it's... Oh my God, we can go so many directions. I have so many thoughts. I don't even know where to begin. Yes, there's a legacy of who has been the dominant, person, a dominant, like, source of power, I guess, to put it really poorly. Men. So everything, culture, media, all of that, all the imagery that we receive has been influenced, determined mostly by them. And then that power, retains itself over time, and slowly more women, more people of color, more people of different sexual orientations and gender expressions are becoming creators of content, owning businesses, and creating those visuals that we take in. And so I feel like the evolution it's slow going. We have a lot to undo. You can choose to look at everything and say it's super fucked up, or you could do something about it, right? And become a creator and put yourself out there so that you can combat those images with your very own authentic self, which is this is part of my mission, is to just put myself out there in order to be represented, because I'm the one who has the power to do that. And what was my other thought? Oh, you could choose to look at everything and consider it fucked up, you know, and kind of have a chip on your shoulder, or you can be critical in your eye when you look at media images in the media and just kind of take it for what it is and know where it's coming from and figure out ways to, you know, either whether that means that you stop looking at social media a whole lot, you stop using Facebook, like you said, you stop looking at Facebook, in order to combat that. You know, you make choices. You unfollow things that don't really align with your values, and you curate your life. I mean, unfortunately, you have to do that. But, you know, like, it's kind of a way to not let it all weigh on you so heavy. Because how else are you going? Otherwise, you could just go about life being very angry and bitter and not, and that energy just kind of, you put it on yourself.